Life is all about how you handle Plan B. I have a card in the window of my car that says that. I picked it up in a gas station a few months ago, and I'd like to just introduce myself with a little story about the last 6 months or so of my life. The background simply is that I returned to Santa Cruz about 4 years ago. I'm from Santa Cruz, and I was gone for 2 decades, I think, and I came back at my mother's request about 4 years ago. She had a series of surgical procedures, and each one had complications and long convalescent periods, and I became her person for a few years. And at the tail end of that period, I got to spend 6 months living with Alonda Sush and his wife Nancy, which was about 6 minutes from my mother's. And right about the point where my relationship with my mother was going really south after being her assistant for 6 years, we made arrangements for me to be replaced with somebody else so that I could go back to living my life, which was very different than hers. And my own had condensed and gotten very small to the point of, listening to her iterations of how many times she had awakened in the night and how many times she had gone to the bathroom that day and what medication she was taking and what her blood pressure was. So in mid-August, I embarked on what I believed to be a 2-week trip. I went to Denver to take a course for a few days with one of my internet marketing mentors. And I met this woman here, Young, who's from Korea, and she was in that course. And the plan is that next I was going to go to Washington, D.C. for a professional conference. I'm a Feldenkrais practitioner for the last 32 years, and I went to a conference. And the plan is that I was going to come back on September 1st and rent a space at the Sash Mill, which I was going to be subletting from an attorney who asked me if I would like to take over her space. And I was thrilled to take over her space at the Sash Mill. I love that place. So that was the idea. And while I was in Denver, there was an earthquake in California, in Napa, you may remember, in late August. And I got a call from Amtrak, because I had planned to take the train, saying that my train was canceled because of the earthquake in California. The tracks were a little buckled, and they had to inspect every inch of track to make sure that the train would not derail. So I thought, I have my car, I have 2 weeks, I'll drive. I love to drive, I love to travel, I'll just drive. So that was the beginning of Plan B. And my car broke down for the first time in Southern Illinois. And I was late to the conference. It started Wednesday evening, and I didn't get there till Saturday night. And it was hilarious because the person who was teaching the workshop, the half day that I was able to attend, lives here in Santa Cruz. So I drove like 3,000 miles to take a half-day workshop with someone who lives 2 miles from me. But it was great. It was great. I loved being there. I saw a lot of people that I had not seen in years and people that I had only known on Facebook. And it was fantastic. I got to be recognized in a way that I had not been recognized in years and included in a dinner and things. It was fantastic. And so I was driving back, and the car continued to break down. The next time it broke down was in a town right near Nashville, Tennessee. And it happened on Saturday evening at dusk, so I had to wait around until Monday or Tuesday to find a mechanic. And I discovered that I really loved this place. And I really loved the people in the South. I had never been in the South before. So the journey the trip started to become a journey after a while. And I don't have enough time to tell you every detail of this journey because this journey is already over 6 months long. The 2 months didn't happen, the 2-week trip did not happen because somewhere in Kansas I got a phone call or an email from the woman I was renting from, the Sash Mill. And she said, I had sent her a deposit from a FedEx place in Kansas, and she sent me an email that said, sorry, I changed my mind, I'm gonna stay put. And normally, I think my response would have been, or historically, my response would have been a lot of disappointment. And I just had momentary disappointment, and I thought, well, back to the drawing board, I guess I'll just start looking when I get home. But it didn't really make sense to start looking in September because I had another trip planned for October. I had the Avon Walk in New York City, and then I had a business thing in Orlando, and I thought, well, I won't look until I get back in November. I'm having a really good time. And I kept going through Thanksgiving and Christmas and it just kept going. I really enjoyed it. And I started to, at some point it started to be an odyssey actually. The car blew up, the transmission went out in Kansas, I lost reverse, and I had medical troubles, and I had financial challenges, and I had car problems, and I kept reverting. I mean, it was not only plan B, but I had to go on to plan C, plan D, plan E many times, and I just kept kind of accessing my creative resourcefulness on the trip because I wanted to continue. And since I had given up where I was living and I had not replaced it, there was no reason to come rushing back because there was nothing to rush back to, including working for my mom. So here it is over 6 months later. I've had the time of my life. I've met people and been places and had experiences that I wouldn't give up for the world. So life really is all about how you handle Plan B. Thanks.